Constitution is a very important piece, and that was one of the first things I did when I became chair at my school, was rewrite their Constitution, because it was a little outdated. I regard a Constitution as a document that prepares you for the worst case scenario. So it certainly tells you who is the voting member and who isn't a voting member of a school council. And that's very important to pay attention to. Through the Education Act, it's defined that there has to be one more parent than non-parent on the committee for voting. But if there are ever contentious issues, you certainly want to have a very good handle on who is allowed to vote and who is invited merely to give an opinion. Once a constitution is written and passed, it's a document that I basically set aside, and I don't bring it out again, really, other than to review it on an annual basis, unless there actually is an issue, and then it helps me deal with it, so that you are prepared for worst-case scenarios. A very good example might be the school review process that the board is going through right now, and every few years. What school councils get to deal with are people who have a vested interest in that issue. That's not the same thing as parents who will come out to a meeting from September through to June and deal with all the issues of the school. So you don't want your school council hijacked by people who only have an interest in one issue, even though that one issue is certainly of vital importance to them, and I don't mean to disregard the importance of their participation in their children's education. But you can't have issues hijacked by special interest groups. So having a constitution allows you to pull out the document and have backup and a process for dealing with difficult issues. It's really important to know who needs to be at the table, so the constitution will help you shape that.
The Constitution really shouldn't be something that people, have a real avoidance to. The purpose of a school constitution, or school council constitution, I should say, is really to be like the rules of the road for the school council. It's about the purpose. It's about how the school council runs as an organization, and it's really something that it is needed. It is mandatory. It's something that as a board we ask every school council to have. But it really is about the functioning of a school council, and we have many examples in the board, and those can be provided certainly, because there are many schools that have those. The board's operating procedure, or administrative procedure for school councils gives an outline. It's things like the name of the organization, the purpose, how you hold elections, how decisions are made, terms of office, things like that. And it really is something that is not that difficult to develop, and you can start from someone else's. That's an easy way to begin. But it really is an important part to make sure that the school council functions properly and knows how it should operate from day to day and through its various committees and so forth. The government has mandated school councils to be in place, so they are legislated to be in existence for each school, and so they do have their power from that. But they are an advisory capacity. That's their role, is to be an advisory body, and clearly that needs to be stated as part of the purpose and mandate. However, it is entrenched in the Education Act, and so that's where the authority comes from. But in the school constitution, it needs to reflect that purpose that lines up with what the ministry has. So it talks about the purpose. It talks about the code of conduct, what's expected of members, what's expected in terms of the decisions that are made, what's expected in terms of things like, conflict of interest, all that kind of thing. What if there is a conflict between members? How do we deal with that? Or if there's a dispute, how do we deal with that? That should all be part of the school constitution, so that really, if there are issues, and you hope there aren't, you know how to deal with them. And the reason why do you want to do that? So that the school council can carry out its function to improve student achievement and to support the school. I think the first thing to do, if you look on the board's website at yourschools.ca, you can look in the school council handbook, and there are some examples of what needs to be in place there in those constitutions. And then I would suggest that you ask, and you ask your principal, for example, for an example of a school constitution, and they'll be able to provide you one from another school, and use that as a starting point. And then I would say go from there and modify and make sure that you have all the key areas that need to be addressed, and then make it your own. And there's always room for improvement. It's not intended to be one size fits all. It should reflect what your school council does and how your school council operates.